Hello and welcome to Network. My name is Siphumelele Zondi. Our conversation tonight will look at some 2016 technology predictions for Africa. We'll also look at the month of November's Google Trends. We test the BMW i3 and check out supercars that will be showcased at the BET Experience. You can find us on SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za and email. Let's start with your social media and technology news. Now, as people are planning their year-end holiday trips, SANRAL has announced that more toll gates will be taking e-tags. These are already existing manual toll gates.
There is often long queues of cars on highways during the holiday seasons like December and Easter. SANRAL says drivers don't have to queue up to pay physically on many of the toll gates on the major highways. But this is only for people with e-tags. These are currently used on Gauteng e-tolls. SANRAL has been struggling to get many people to buy these. They have even offered discounts to Gauteng motorists, but many have until now refused to buy them and have refused to pay for the e-tolls. The new routes that will be getting e-tolls are on the N1 North Toll Route, N1 South, N2 South Coast, N3 Marion Hill Toll Plaza, all toll plazas on the N3 toll concession route, and all toll plazas on the N1 and 4 Bakwena toll route. There will be a lane for drivers that are tagged.
Now, Kwagwa seems to think that BMW is leaning towards the future with its i3 electronic car. Anda had a chance to drive the vehicle.
This is the all-new BMW i3, and it's fantastic. It's BMW's very first fully electric car, which those that want to save the environment will love. It also means the pocket will not hurt when fuel prices go up.
Open-ended card, so you can charge for free.
But you've probably guessed it already. While you save money on fuel, the BMW is not cheap, but the hefty price is justified.
Check your driving statistics again.
The i3 has high-tech features like BMW Connected Drive and the optional range extender, which is really forward-thinking technology. This means that while the car is fully electronic, the motor is augmented by a 2-cylinder gasoline-fueled range extender engine. This points to a future of smarter and more efficient cars.
From July production last year, all BMWs came with a built-in SIM card, embedded SIM card, which basically helps the driver to communicate with the vehicle and the vehicle to gain information from the outside environment. Service calling and emergency calling is standard on all of the vehicles. So the vehicle can basically contact the service department if something serviceable becomes due on the vehicle via data messages. So basically like an SMS, so that SIM card will take the diagnostics from the car, send a message to the service center that the driver has specified as their servicing dealer, and they'll contact the client within 72 hours to make a service booking. Emergency calling can save your life. If the vehicle's in an accident, it sends an emergency call via that SIM card, which takes about 5 seconds to connect, and they can assist you with any emergencies.
The BMW's Range Anxiety Prozac is a 647cc 2-cylinder engine turning a 34 HP generator. The petrol engine, borrowed from BMW's Motard C600 sports scooter, never drives the wheel, making the i3 the only true series hybrid on sale today. With a quiet and smooth 1-speed direct drive, there is no uncomfortable gear change. It steps off the line with a confident low RPM torque shove of an electric motor. When you lift off the accelerator, the i3 initiates a regenerative braking scheme that converts kinetic energy into electricity to extend the range. In simple terms, the car charges itself in traffic and when you approach a traffic light. Now the BMW i3 is definitely the future.
Here are some of what were the most searched stories on Google in November.
November was an emotional month around the world, and just as much so in South Africa, with the Paris attacks dominating Google's search in the country, getting more than 27 search terms in one group. The search terms included Paris attacks and what happened in Paris. While receiving less search attention, the Mali hostage situation earned its own search cluster in November. Rugby hit the search headlines again in November with the tragic death of All Blacks rugby legend Jonah Lomu. Also appearing in November's search trends were Google Doodle, inspired searches on English mathematician George Boole and saxophone inventor Adolphe Sax. On the celebrity circuit, South African Idol's 2015 winner Karabo, Charlie Sheen's HIV announcement, and Adele's 25th album made the trends list. The English artist's hit single Hello video was viewed on YouTube 1 million times an hour when it was released on 24th of October.
We celebrated the first global 3D printing day in the last week, and Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg is giving 99% of his shares to charity. These are some of the stories making headlines in the tech world in the last week. Take a look.
Audio Jungle. Hello and welcome to another edition of the SABC News Tech Wrap. I am coming to you from the Global 3D Printing Day Expo here in Midrand. Now this is where we got to see some pretty awesome 3D printing technology.
Global 3D Printing Day, it's the first year that it's being held. It was initiated by 3D Hubs, and 3D Hubs is a community network of users of 3D printers.
December the 3rd marks the first of many global 3D printing days to come.
Staying on home ground, WeChat has announced that it will be investing 50 million rand in support of South African tech startups.
The company says that the fund aims to provide financial support to businesses so that they can effectively get on the WeChat platform. Technology entrepreneurs can put in their applications for the funding starting from January 18th, 2016.
Talking about giving, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg and his wife said that they will be giving 99% of their shares to charity. The news received 2 thumbs up from people around the world.
Starting our work now in investing in the future is an easy decision for us.
You know, it's hard to move these things in the short term, right? These are big, complex systems. Like doing anything that you want to well in the world, that just takes practice. And you're not going to be perfect at it the first time. And in the projects that we're going to try to do in education and science and health and community building, we will learn lessons over time and hopefully get better and better.
Amazon released a video that showed how its unmanned drones package delivery would look like.
A miracle of modern technology is dispatched.
The video was launched Sunday last week, and it seemed to be timed ahead of Cyber Monday, one of the biggest shopping events for online retailers.
It's a horizontal orientation and becomes a streamlined and fast airplane.
Now this is it from me this week, but catch me again next week for another glimpse of the most interesting tech stories doing the rounds.
Audio Jungle. It's SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Stay with us.
SABC News. We report, contextualize and present news and current affairs honestly, fairly and fully. We consider it a duty to provide consistent, relevant, useful and top quality information and analysis. Our mission is to provide credible, accurate and interesting news programming, bringing news into everyone's homes in everyone's languages. Thank you, South Africa, for relying on SABC News for quality news output and for making us your #1 source of information. SABC News, Africa's news leader.
Media Monitor, your weekly media news review program.
It was squashed some few months back, but obviously this is something that is going to hang around Pravin until it is actually dealt with. If he didn't know, then he wasn't doing his job.
In it, she described how the man's hair was frozen, although the man has no hair.
Is anybody volunteering to go to jail for him? That is not how the law works.
This particular matter makes us really look like a serious banana republic.
Unpacking headlines and giving analysis on topical issues. Sundays at 9 a.m. only on the SABC News channel.
News Network at sabc.co.za. That is News Network at sabc.co.za on email. Now, the International Data Corporation has released its technology predictions for 2016. But before we look at what they say we should expect next year, let's find out what they predicted for this year and whether they got it right.
Last year, the International Data Corporation predicted that mobile phone usage in Africa would increase tremendously this year. This would inevitably increase internet usage in the continent.
All these things, and also some of the clever ways that some of these online e-commerce, sites are solving some of the pertinent issues like logistics, where you have to pay on delivery instead of paying with your credit card and all that stuff. So all this innovation that we started seeing to localize some of the business models is actually having a positive impact on e-commerce in Africa.
In Kenya, mobile money services such as M-Pesa have also evolved into everyday seamless banking.
So having a mechanism of paying online using M-Pesa or mobile money, that is really going to be a great drive for next year and the future years to come.
Digital disruptors such as Uber are using that platform to come up with innovative ways that are shaking up existing businesses. But does this mean that we will have more disruptors in the future?
Now, the International Data Corporation has revealed its Futurescape predictions for 2016. Joining me in studio is Research Manager of IT Services and Software at IDC, Lisa Hagen. Hello, and thank you for being a part of our network.
Thank you very much.
Do you think you got it right last year?
We got it partially right. I don't think anyone can always look into the future, but given on what you've been seeing around the trends and what my colleague George was saying, we got it pretty right. We got some really, really good, and I would say visceral examples of some of our predictions, and some of them being the investments in data centers in South Africa and Africa. If we just look at what MTN and Amazon Web Services announced with their Direct Connect, most recently Internet Solutions and their Direct Connect with Google, I think we got that pretty right.
Mm-hmm. Now going into 2016, smart cities?
Smart cities? Well, if we start looking at our global Futurescape predictions, we had a look at those, and we wanted to see how can it be relevant to Africa and South Africa. And if we start looking at digital transformation being one of the major trends that we are seeing globally, we wanted to see how we can make it a visceral example in country. And this is where we started looking at how does the man in the street experience technology? And this is where smart cities came in. And smart cities doesn't necessarily just have to be a greenfield installation, so anything from new, building from scratch. It could be existing infrastructure like we have in Johannesburg, in Pretoria, in Cape Town, and how they make that smarter. So that's a very, very tangible example about how technology can impact the lives of the people in the street.
But that's not the only prediction you're making. You have 5 big ones.
We've got 5 ones, yes.
Let's go through them quickly.
So the first one would be around digital transformation and how that impacts smart cities. Secondly, we're starting to look at machine-to-machine, and most specifically around IoT, Internet of Things. I think if we start looking at the example of the BMW that you just highlighted, that coming in with a SIM card and telemetry is one step towards the Internet of Things. But it is the organizations that are willing to do the analytics around this Internet of Things that are going to be winning in 2016.
You're talking about the Internet of Things right now, but are there trends specific to Africa and how that's used?
Yes, absolutely. I think if you start looking at Netstar, all of the guys that are doing the vehicle recovery, that's a very good example of a machine-to-machine telemetry that's actually evolved into the Internet of Things.
Mm-hmm. And what's the methodology that you use, Lisa, when you're coming up with these predictions?
Oh, it's absolutely arcane. I was saying we look into a crystal ball, and we do a rain dance around it. If only it were that easy. But we look at global trends. We look at what we had got right in the previous year. We look at the trends that we're seeing, both from a hardware, software, technology perspective, also from the end users and what their requirements are. So it's very much a bottom-up as well as a top-down top-down approach for us.
One of the IEDC's predictions highlighted the future of Windows. And it's the Windows smartphone specifically. Can you just tell us about that?
I think that's more around the future predictions, and
Yes.
it's more from the telco perspective.
Yes.
But if we start looking at smartphones and the fact that they've been coming down in price point over the past few years, making it more accessible to people, which led to quite a lot of adoption around Android. I think that the Windows smartphone, they're trying to approach that in the same direction, especially since it's developed for multiple endpoints, whether it be a smartphone, whether it be a tablet, whether it be a PC. That approach, that integrated approach, it's most certainly, in my opinion, the way to go.
And interestingly, this year you were talking about the growth of the $50 smartphone. Is it growing?
It most certainly is. If we start looking at the Chinese manufacturers coming in, dropping their smartphones to a very, very low price point, and quite a few of these manufacturers realizing that is the price point that you need to trigger and target in the African environment.
And why is this? Because what you might think is that smartphone manufacturers are there to make profits.
Yes, but if you're selling 40 billion of them, you know, you start getting an economy of scale. It's also about brand building. Very often you don't go in with a profit approach in the very first iteration, but you want to make sure that your brand is getting exposure across the board. And as people become more the happier with the brand, they become more familiar with it, they can build on that platform.
Lisa, other trends, technology trends that have surprised you that you never expected in 2015?
No. That's the short answer. I think it depends on the adoption. There might be some fantastic, sleek and sexy trends out there. If we start looking at IoT, M2M, RFID technology has been around for 10, 15 years. The cloud has been around for 10, 15 years. It depends on whether the market is ready for it, whether the ancillary technologies are there to support that technology. And I think that's sometimes surprising, is how quickly or how laggardly these technologies are adopted.
Right. Lisa Hagen from the International Data Corporation, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Malelo.
All right. Now, petrol heads and car technology lovers will be in for a treat at this year's BET Experience in Johannesburg. They will get to experience some of the supercars that often compete at the Super Drift competitions. Drifting is an increasingly popular motorsport internationally. It's gaining momentum with South Africans too. In order for a car to compete in one of these competitions, it needs a complete overhaul, and the whole technology of it must be replaced.
We changed the engines. This one has a 6-litre V8 Chevrolet. We stiffened the suspension, proper race suspension, roll cage of the cars, a hydraulic handbrake.
It's that technology that will be at this year's BET Experience on 12 December.
We're going to be putting out the Luminous, the 6-litre V8 Chevrolet Luminous, in which you can get into the car and you can experience it with the driver. You can actually see what it's like to be thrown from side to side and experience the thrill of going sideways.
Some of those there will get to ride in the machines that will be on show. They will, even if it's only for a few minutes, get to feel what it could be like to be at Super Drift competitions.
The son of Africa, Trevor Noah, is leaving America in stitches.
I never dreamed that I would one day have, well, two things really. An indoor toilet and a job as host of The Daily Show.
We are the first to bring you the latest films around the globe.
Dear white people, the minimum requirement of black friends needed to not seem racist has just been raised to 2.
Cobhams Asako is a gifted blind musician, a master of soothing notes from the piano.
I love to sit behind the piano. You know, that also helps me find inspiration.
In the distance,
Join Refulo Mulwa every Friday for that 1 hour weekly dose of art and entertainment news at 9 p.m. on Trends.
SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Welcome back. Now, producer Lebusi Jage got to spend some time with Huawei's newly released Mate S smartphone. It's evident that South Africa has become an important market for the Chinese phone maker.
I got to play around with the Huawei Mate S for a couple of weeks, and I must just say that I think the battery life of this device is quite impressive. I received the phone around noon and it was on 50% battery life, but I decided not to charge it to see how long it would last, which was almost 2 days. Something that one really sees these days, especially on smartphones. The Mate S is a high-end Android 5.1.1 Lollipop-powered device and comes with some popular mobile social apps already installed. One of the features most girls would like about this phone is the mirror that allows one to apply lipstick without going to the bathroom or even asking their friends for their mirrors. The 5.5 AMOLED screen device has 13 megapixel rear and 8 megapixel front cameras, fingerprint sensor and a high silicon Kirin 935 chip running off a 64-bit octa-core processor. Other specifications include dual SIM capabilities as well as a 3GB RAM. The smartphone retails at about 10,000 Rand.
Let's see what some people have been sharing in social media. Former South African President Nelson Mandela died on 5 December 2013. South Africans on Twitter have been remembering Madiba in many ways. The hashtag Remembering Mandela was also trending. The hashtag Imbizo Week has also been trending in some cities. This happens as cabinet ministers and deputy ministers engage with various communities. In Kenya, people have been making fun of President Uhuru Kenyatta. They seem to suggest that he spends more time outside the country than in Kenya. As a result, they've started the hashtag Uhuru in Kenya. They're coming up with what the president will do on what some suggest is his state's visit to Kenya. And that's all we have for you. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. It's newsnetwork at sabc.co.za on email. We play out with visuals of Pluto as close-up images of the planet are now available for the very first time. From me and the rest of the network team, have a good one.
And I'm Rebecca Chetty.